you mangy mods to the dogs of war.
How's it going, everybody? So welcome back. My name's Billy, and you are tuned in to the Dogs of War. So from the first part of the Incursors, we put a base on there with a little bit of highlight, and I told you we were gonna tone that down with the shade later. So I figure instead of batch painting all 10 like we did with the base there, then I would just concentrate on one, and we'll take one from its current state right now to what I'm going to call generally for the most part done. So posted a picture on our Facebook page there showing one of the ones that I did before. So we're going to match him to this guy. So this is what we're going to be shooting for. To take a look there. So this is one I sat down last night and I said, okay, well, what am I going to use? What paints? And then we'll match him to match the rest of the squad there. Still might have a little bit of cleanup to do. We'll look and see if we can focus there. If you look, there's a little bit of coffee staining, right there. See if it'll focus. And I think I'll be able to get some of that off. But I believe good enough for the table. So that's what we're going after. We can talk a little more about this one and some of the colors that I used, maybe on his hair and things a little later. So let's take this guy, and this looked like a neat model to start with. I like the fact that he's throwing. He's got a knife that he's throwing there. So looks like it would be fun. So let's get started. Generally, I like to, at this point, I like to start with the black. And I bounce back and forth on which one I use, whether I'm using the matte black from Army Painter or the Citadel black, or here lately I've been using the contrast paint, the black Templar contrast paint, because it leaves like a built-in highlight there, because I'm not the best at highlighting or taking the time to go back and edge or add highlights there. So it gives me a little bit built in that that I can kind of cheat a little bit there. So so let's get to it. Let's see. Let's get some paint on this model. Well, am I in focus? Am I on screen? I get something on him to start with. So I put some of the black Templar on my palette here. I thinned it just a little bit. So it would run a little bit better maybe, and it would lend me possibly a little more of the highlights that I'm wanting there. Definitely not wanting it to dry on my brush, but let me see if I can get that focused where you can see. down here maybe. So I'll end up with a little bit of, maybe it's not picking up on camera so much, but I'll end up with a little bit of a highlight, with that being a little thinner than normal. Start. I noticed the contrast paint doesn't work as well over large flat surfaces, and I think generally, you know, a lot of people have spoke about it since it's been out, what, a year or so now. So in the model that I painted earlier, I noticed that, you know, on the shoulder there, just, you know, it really didn't do very well. I didn't really want the highlights on that shoulder that a contrast paint would give anyway. So I went back and added an extra layer there to it. My brush here, I use cheap brushes, and this is, well, I can't say the name, so that should tell you something. I can't pronounce it, but it is abuse the brushes. There, so no great fine tip on that brush. I won't be painting a visor with it, but having the right brush for the right job, I guess it I'd like to get some more use out of this one before it either is disposed or used as a dry brush or stirring stick. Okay. Like we've got a good bit going there. And I'm going to go on his gun too. Oh. Got a good bit on his gun. Barrel's going to get it also there, because I want that shade, that dark down in the crevices when I put the, you know, the silver lead belcher over it. I like the larger brush, and obviously whichever brush for the best job, but the larger brush, you know, doing this work that's not detail work, you really, there's no sense in messing up the points on your better brushes here when it's not necessary. And there's a lot of you that would watch and would say, well, you know, duh, already knew that. But I'm hoping that these videos are a little bit for everyone. For the beginner that may not know, for some of our local guys that are wanting to, or gals that are wanting to get started, and you can watch some of the big name YouTubers, and they have been really helpful, honestly, in guiding me and giving me um, new techniques to use and to try, all of which don't work for me, whether it be from not being, not keeping at it, or that it's really just not my style, whether I don't want to put the time into it, or I want to look at something and say, well, okay, well, that's as good as I want it to be. But I'd like to, in most of my videos, I'll tell you, just get a model and get some paint on it. You mess up, you mess up. You can repaint it. If you get stuck and you figure, I'm messing up every single time, I'm not getting any better, maybe ask a question. Post a comment. Hey Bill, what can I do? I can't dry brush. I just can't do it. And let me see if I can give you a hand. Let me see if there's something that I may have figured out that may help with that. And may not. Maybe we'll have to research it together. So, but yeah, take the resources that are available to you, and use them. I'm offering up just another resource, another place that you might learn something a little different. So I believe we've got what I would like to be, black. Yeah, for some reason I think I'm going to paint his knife here black. At least to start. I haven't done this all the time, but I've noticed lately that I have missed the black pieces inside the palm of their hands a lot of times in previous paint jobs. So so in trying to do better, I'll at least try to pay a little more, a little closer attention to that. Try to catch it if I can. So don't have my glove on. I'm not doing any airbrushing. I'm attempting not to get my oily fingers all over the model and make the paint come off. But we'll see. Close. I think some of those the shade will take care of. So let's hope. Now let's see if All right. Second. Brush. And I think what we're going to do, I think we might need to go after the yellow now. Just because the yellow, I guess trying to plan what I'm painting when, the yellow will a lot of times take multiple coats whenever you're trying to cover anything up. I could put a white down first and possibly put the yellow down, but there again, that may be a great technique. I've opted just not to do that. So, it may work fine for most people. It has not worked fine for me. Let's see if I can get this here. So Averland Sunset is what I've chose to paint these with. Still using the same brush. And I actually mixed the Averland Sunset in with a, let me get this here. I'll tell you, I mixed it with an ink. I've done all ink on mine. Cauldrons here, but I've got to where I wanted the color, but I didn't want the color that the ink, all the ink, that ink color. And the ink is a little glossy, which is to your taste, good or bad. And obviously all the colors that I'm using here, you can adjust the colors or adjust the, I'm sure that you can take a base, what is normal Averland Sunset, what is a ultramarine color, and you can thin it with the ink also. So with just a little bit. The ink that I'm using, this came from Hobby Lobby. So I used yellow ochre ink to thin my paint. So lots more pigment. It flows because you're thinning it. The ink is really thin, so you're able to get it on and get a thin layers on there. Don't work your paint too much. I've got a problem in doing that myself. You work the paint too much, you'll cause it to tear the layer you just put down. You're making micro spots of heat, and generally will cause issues. So put some down, head over to another area, let it dry. Don't put multiple layers on like I did right there back to back. go on to something else. To the something else now. I'm going to use an oak brown from Army Painter. I'm probably going to have to change brushes here. Because these little straps are, well, they're just that, they're little straps. Now I have here recently, I've got the wormwood contrast paint, and it works really well for these pouches. So if you happen to get some of that, I recommend that also. Really good. It's dark, but it works really well. But, and it's one of those one and done, you know. The only thing I have issue with it is, well, you can kind of tell that's what you did. And if you take time to paint layers on, without the contrast paint, then you can tell what you did. It's a different look. I've got a lot of models with that contrast paint on them, and I'm fine with those with it. But I do like the layered look with a highlight of some sort on the leather. This is awfully big and brush that doesn't really have a tip on it. You paint these little straps with. Maybe it turns out alright. Maybe I have to go over. Or maybe it will be one of those that I should go over and don't. I constantly say, hey, it's okay to make this. These sheaths have little skulls on them, emblems on them. I'm painting over those all brown. You can see, as well as the scabbard here, the all brown. And then I'll go over and we'll get those details there. Yeah, that brush is, there's no tip on that brush, really. Yeah, now it's turned into a challenge. Can I do it? Or should I do it? Absolutely not. But can I do it? How many mistakes are you going to make? There we go. Coming along. Get little bits of leather here and there. At the end of the day, maybe we'll have a Space Wolf. Yeah. Let's see. Pretty cool. All right. While that's drying a little bit, I'm going to go back. I'm going to go back at my yellow. We'll ease another coat on it. See my on screen, can you see all this? And I probably should be pulling my layers up towards the top of the shoulder pad, pulling my paint, and making the lift-off spot up high. I know that matters. You know, where you lift your brush, because that's where the paint will deposit. You're dragging your paint, and then you lift your brush and you'll leave it where you left it, so where you picked up. So if you want your highlight, if you want a lighter spot towards the top, and this being this yellow being the brightest part, because I intend to add a shade and tone it down, or tone the edges, the bottom part down. I actually add a contrast paint, later. But if you're wanting to do that, then pull your paint up and leave that brightest deposit up top there. All right. We do have some black still on the palette. Let's see if we can just add a little bit. A little bit to that side there. I believe that's working. Yeah, I think that's going to be okay. Oh. just close enough. And I think I'm painting all of them with this knee over here black. Okay. Like that. That happened. I think that this guy may end up having hair too. I have a blonde-headed one with blonde hair, and this one's just a little bit of hair there. Yeah, it's gonna have black hair, or just a dot of black. Okay. There are lots of places to go and do now. Where do we go next? I think it. So I've got a white, ceramite white Citadel. Going in for base. That is a thin white there. I am not all comfortable with the size of that brush compared to the size of the area that I'm putting. Why don't we check that up? It is this bigger brush here. There we go. Got a really white face there. While we're in the white, I've got a really thin white here, but so I'm going to paint the lens there. And any of the little glowing pieces, I can get it turned down here. I'll get a little bit of white on the pieces that I want to glow. I'm going to want them to stand out. And knowing that our paints are transparent, this bottom layer is going to tint and help lighten whatever I put on top of it. Okay, we're getting there. So if the video is helping you any, remember to like and subscribe there. Hit the bell so you can be notified of other parts that come out and other videos. Take time in between doing other things. Let's throw another yellow on it. It doesn't take long. We're just adding another layer. Bring it up a little bit at a time. So we're at a point now that I think, why don't we do a little bit of the silver. And I am going to use Army Painter, plate mail metal. There's a link will be a link in the description to A&H, my local hobby shop, and I believe they had some of these in stock in a set of Army Painter paints that came with ball bearings also, which is kind of neat. I'd always say support your local hobby shop, if at all possible. If you don't have one close, support mine. Making these videos, I'm not, I don't ask for money or Patreon or anything like that. Not currently. I'm trying to just put some videos out just to help the local community and the hobby in general. And to help the hobby in general, when we're able, we need to have a place to go play. And that's going to be your local game shop. They're going to be, if they're not already, making that place available to you. And for it to be there whenever we want it to be there, we have to support them when we're able, how we're able. You know, not always are you able to support them and buy models every week or every couple of weeks. But if they have a website, you can share that website with people, and you try to get other, you know, make other people aware of their business. So, some grenades there. I'm gonna leave one of them. I'm gonna paint some color there. And I may go over. It says I'm going through a bunch of these with silver. I may go over it and put stick a different color on it later. And over what I'm doing now, because I do like to add a little variation, whether and one of these may end up green or gray for the day. I will see. What do we want to do next? Get a little bit on the knife. A lot of different ways I could do the knives. And the backpacks, matter of fact. You know, different people paint their backpacks different. I decided to be consistent in my which parts I paint silver and which parts I don't. I don't know if they were intended to be silver, but my Space Wolves. And whatever color you paint your army, and I've heard this a lot, make sure it's something that you're going to be comfortable looking at and painting over a long period of time. Because you're going to be seeing these colors for a while, you know, as you're building an army. You know, I've heard don't buy the meta, buy what you're going to enjoy painting. Buy the story you're going to enjoy reading about. Okay. Some of that paint from drying on my brush. And get up here a little bit. So am I staying on camera and in focus somewhat? Maybe so. So not the definitely not the best painter. Don't claim to be. But trying slowly, sometimes more slowly than I like. I'm slowly getting better. And if you paint and work your painting muscle frequently, you'll get better too. All right, what color do we want to do next? Get a little bit of okay. All right, we got some paint on him. How about we put let's see. How about we put us a dot of green? I'm gonna try a little bit of warp lightning contrast paint. There's that green dot there. Do it on camera. Contrast paint. We go green. Focus. All right. That. Let's get us a different color. How about a How about we grab Flesh Terrors Red contrast paint. Flesh Terrors. There we go. Get a little bit of this out. And go at it right here. There we go. I'll do that. Grab that green again. I think I missed the little green inside there. Okay. A little green. Okay. Cool. I'm gonna grab a little bit more silver here, plate, and believe I'm gonna paint top part here. It to stand out a little different. So get it a little bit different color. And if we want to put a little bit of silver here and there. Well, there might have been a band there. There wasn't a band there before, there is one there now. All right. Cool. I do have a bad habit of not washing my brush out enough, so I've been trying to actively work on that. Do try to rinse your brush. Don't let things dry. Wash your brushes. Find I think I've used the brush cleaner here, Master's brush cleaner, and it's kind of like a soap that you can clean your brushes with. And you're thinking, well, yeah, I'm using these cheap brushes, but I want to get the most that I can out of them. And especially using contrast paint and straight out of the pot, maybe it gets all up on the back part of my brush and messes it up a lot too. So yeah, there's a lot of fixing to do. Why don't we take a little bit of the Militarum green contrast here, and I'll just pop a little bit on that grenade. Say, the Militarum green contrast paint. Get a little bit on him. We've got a different look there. Maybe one of these over here. Well, they look the same. Don't want that one to be. There we go. Green on both sides. I don't know that I want those cans on the other side to be silver or to be that bright silver, so I can change that a little bit. We'll just tone that down with a little bit of gray. So if you're not using a wet palette, is look into some videos on how to make one or purchase one. It's going to help tremendously. So I'm able, if you notice, I'm able to go back and forth through several of the different paints, and yet the yellow that I've been painting with here today was put on the palette yesterday. and I've not added any paint to that from yesterday. The gray has been there probably longer than that. So yeah, there's definitely a benefit to it. Plus thinning your paints, it helps with that. As well. So all right, so we're making some progress. Everything's kind of pale. You know, not a whole lot of dimension showing there. Noticed a lot of here that I may have missed. Get a little bit darker. A little more brown there. Just looking a little washed out. Getting the edges of the leather strap there. I didn't concentrate a whole lot on those before, so let me. They do offer a little bit of a highlight, but it's the wrong highlight color. Not really what I want. So. And it probably would cover whenever I do go over it with a highlight. Yeah, it would probably get covered up. All right. Let's see now. I think we're going to go back with a different brush here. And this one is a huge brush. So I'm going to go back with, this is a number 6 brush. Very large, but it has a fine tip. I just went through that visor there. You saw that little visor on top there with this fine tip. Okay, that was good. And let's grab, let's see that. We're gonna put a little bit of gold on him. Again, this is one of the Army Painter paints that I'm gonna use. It is Greedy Gold. I think we're gonna need a whole lot of it. Let's see what we can do here. I want that little thing painted. This one. knives here. This brush is in worse shape than my other one. There is a tip on it. Oh. Jump back. We're going over little parts on the knife here. Or get them to. Like we got a bit there. All right, we got a little gold colors, accents there. That'll work. We'll go ahead and we'll change him from being a ghost there. Now, what do you think? No more Ghost Marine. Get some, let's get a little flesh. Let's turn that white what we'd like it to be there. And I'm probably going to have to put a little sticker so that I'm actually looking at the camera there instead of looking at my screen here. But there again, just like painting, I'm hoping that I eventually get better at this. I'm doing. So on the lens, I'm just putting a dot. Just a white dot. Just to give that little extra there. I didn't always do that. But every time that I paint a model, I realize that I want to do a little more, a little something different. So let's push maybe just a little bit out of my comfort zone and try something just a little different. We're going in with Gilliman Flesh contrast paint that is mostly shook up, kind of shook up, a little bit shook up, and you can't go multiple layers with this, or you shouldn't. Be careful if you do, let me say that, because multiple layers with this, all of a sudden it's too dark and it's not what you intended. See, okay. So I'm going at this guy here. Don't work it too much. Put it on, leave it alone. Don't touch it. Let it do its thing. If you put too much, obviously, in some of the places you need to wick it up, and but don't try to rub it in. Don't once you get it on there, let it fall. Let it get into the crevices where you're gonna want it. Just told you not to mess with it. I did. I took up a little more than I wanted. A little more back. There, I got some back in there. I tried to pull a little bit of it out of his eye and pulled more than I wanted. It happens. All right. So at this point, I think we need to, we're going to do a little bit of edge on a little bit of edging on the leather. I've got it's a leather, let's see what it's called. Leather brown army painter that I'm going to go at, that's a little lighter than this oak that I used, and I'm just going to go down the hard edge and add a little bit of worn places. The edges that would see a little bit more wear than some of the other places on the leather. And you may think, I think I've said before, where do I put those? Well, that's it. Just where it would get a little more wear. Just to give a little, just that little extra detail. Some of the little spots that you do, the small places that you take time with, and that you accentuate, the little accents on. Those are the spots. Those will stand out and pop and make the model look as if where you've taken a little more time with it, and and it'll show on the table. And all of us like to be, like to be proud of the work we do, whether whether someone else is saying, "Hey, good job," or even if you're only, as we're not able to play, we're either posting them online, or you're walking in and showing your significant other, "Hey, look, what do you think?" And in the back of your mind, you better say it looks good. Okay, so looking at him now, he looks like a Space Wolf Incursor. I'm going to take some of the Anden yellow contrast paint. There we go. And I'm not using a lot of this, but I want a little bit down in the crevices of the armor. In the bottom part here, I want it a little darker than the top. That find how I'm going to get it in. Just a little bit down there in the edges. Does it make a big difference? No. A little bit. I'm going up kind of high with it right now. Yeah. Just to add that. I'm going to leave the highest part. None on the very highest part there. So we'll see how that works. Maybe it'll work. Maybe I'll just go over it with the yellow again. Or most of it. We'll leave it there for now. There is it looks like some cement of some sort down bottom. We go ahead and own it. A little bit on there. And if you hear a little extra audio, I believe my daughter might be maybe playing Fallout. All right. I'm gonna get a little bit of null, and I don't have the gloss. I need some gloss on all. But this will work currently. Let's just null is going to go on the silver parts. Alright, so gun, maybe these other grenades there. Little pieces here on the back. And we're going to get into fun part here in a second. And you're going to learn a new, maybe learn a new technique. Maybe you already do, but yes. Okay. So we've pretty much, I mean, we've got to a point here that, I mean, he's really good enough to put on the table. But he's still kind of, well, I want the extra definition. That's kind of, you know, there's some, yes, there's some spots there that we can fix up, like this yellow that I'm not liking. A little bit, a little more of the bright yellow on top. So, all right, here we go. Blend that back down. Get that. Take a little bit of that away. Blend it together a little bit. All right. So let's do some mixing. This is what's going to get fun. So I save bottle caps. I have loads and loads of bottle caps. And you can't see so much, but I have some little putty, I believe, that they use to put around windows, maybe. This little gray putty stuff, which is perfect for holding this so it doesn't go anywhere. Also perfect in what I sit my paints on whenever I'm painting out of the pot, which I probably shouldn't do, but I do. And I stick them over here so that I don't knock them over. So we're going to mix up, let's see, a little bit of shade for this guy. It's not going to take a whole lot, but we're going to mix not much at all. Drakenhof Nightshade. I put 3 drops of it, I believe, just now. Definitely won't use that much of it, I'm sure. If you're doing the whole squad, yeah, maybe you will. And then I'm going to add a couple of drops of Army Painter Dark Tone there. Dark Tone. Which you probably could use a mixture of Null and Agrax there, more than likely. Would probably get you a similar effect. And the bottle. This bottle. This is floor polish. Pledge acrylic floor polish. And we are going to thin that down and mix it up. Floor polish is going to, it's glossy. It'll turn this to a gloss effect. So you may have to, you know, whenever you seal it with a matte, you know, a lustreless or a matte varnish there, then you might, yeah, you might need to do that to bring it down there. So, but it'll bring your gloss off. So what I'm looking at here is how thin it's going to be and how, you know, how well it's going to cover. So I don't want it to be overpowering. I want it to flow into the crevices there, and I don't want it to stain my model too dark. And the Drakenhof Nightshade would turn it a lot more blue than I would like. The dark shade would make it more brown, and would, if I only used it, would it would give it, wouldn't tint the armor like I would like. So I came up with this in mixing, and let's try on an inconspicuous place back here that we can fix of how it's gonna fall. Looks like we're pretty close. Yeah. So there's places here, and I'm pin washing. Well, for some of the places that I want, I'm gonna want it just to go, and I'm gonna hit it and let it tint. And I'll show you here. Look at his foot. We're gonna go over this. It's gonna fall if you look, and add that little more tint. I told you that I made it a lot lighter than it would end up, and this is how we're taking it, bringing that back down to where we want it. So if you can see how it's bringing, look right here with this foot, how it's bringing that armor. Because it's a shade, and because we're using the polish, change the viscosity, it flows differently than it did before. What we're ending up with is a tint, and it's running off, and it's not staining as or leaving the coffee stains as bad. Now we can go through and clean up any other stains too we have. This will pull all the shadows that we want. This should give us those shadows. go over the silver there too, because you can tint or can use the blue, the Drakenhof, to shade your silver areas. That will work. A colder look. And we're just kind of getting it a little bit everywhere. Any of the places we want. I don't want it pooling big spots, so be careful. Be careful with that. Be able to see there, that little spot there. I don't want it to pool so much there. Put it on, and I do want it to stay in that crack. Also. And this is added, you know, it's changed the initial color and tint that we had in the beginning. And I'll show you, since I didn't do all of them all at the same time. I'm able to show you how it adjusted the color there. So remember the Pledge acrylic furniture floor polish there. You can use it with inks to make different color, different washes. It with just paint, because it'll make washes there. You can make washes with it there too. So that's my tip and trick there. So let's see. So I think we're going to be okay, and we're going to call him. Well, we're close. How about we call him close? How about I look at that gold and think that I did not add a wash to that, and it's sitting there hollering. Put something on me. Can't just leave that there. Put a little bit of wash on it. Let's see if I can change it. Just a little bit. Not that anybody else would know, but I do. And I used to put Agrax on this. And thank you to a friend of mine, Cliff, who says, yeah, I like putting sepia wash on mine. So let's do that. And now I'll go through, I'll put a base, some basing on him. I'll go through and do that and post, we'll post a finished picture on Facebook there with the basing that I'm going to do. The basing I did, I mixed some sand with all kinds of stuff, some brown paint, and it dries, and then I mix a little bit of mix water in it before I use it, and that's what I painted. That's how I did the base here. And it added a textured base there. And I do have the Growling Earth and the different technical paints there, but you know, it's something just that I made. And I did the same thing with snow. You can get white sand from a lot of times your, you know, dollar store or somewhere. They're really white, and I used it and mixed it up there. So a final look. What you think? There, what we're going to go with. And you know, I said I'd show you kind of how that was going to change. You remember how bright the other ones were? So do you see how that tint changed the color there? And it brought it back down to the Space Wolf, back down to the Space Wolf gray color, I believe. Well, that's going to be it for tonight. It is night here, but yeah, thanks for staying with me, and stay tuned. It's not going to be all Space Wolves. I have a lot of Necrons and things to paint, so I'll leave it with you. So have a good night. Bye now.